You are listening to the All County All-Stars podcast, a show featuring franchise success stories in property management. Thinking about starting your own business and considering property management? Hear how our franchisees have partnered with All County to overcome obstacles and open flourishing franchises across the United States. Welcome to the All County All-Stars podcast. This is your host, Tanya, and I am super excited today to talk to Scott Glascock, who is one of sort of the original franchisees in All County, but he was actually the first franchisee in Colorado. And Colorado, for any of you that know anything about All County, is full of just powerhouse franchisee owners. And Scott was the head of all of that started in Colorado. Welcome to the show, Scott.
Thanks, Tanya. It's really great to be here with you today.
And I also forgot to mention something very important. Scott's office in Colorado Springs was actually the highest grossing franchise in 2021, correct? Of the whole All County family?
That's true, and 2022.
Oh, 2 years running. 2
Yeah.
years running. Colorado, competition's stiff out there. I mean, definitely you have some people making some big profits out there in Colorado. So Scott, tell us a little bit about your journey before All County. What were you doing?
So I grew up in Maryland on a small farm. Just a neat fact, it joined to Camp David, the presidential retreat. So that was fun. So the fences along that part of the property were pretty good. Secret Service made sure of that. So
Interesting.
That was fun. And then I joined the United States Army after a few years graduating out of high school and went to community college. And I joined the Army and served 31 years, did multiple tours in combat and downrange. I really enjoyed it. And one thing I learned over the years was Tammy and I had bought and sold some properties along the way. So we were kind of landlords, we were kind of tenants, property managers, and I really kind of developed an interest in it. And that's kind of why I got into All County Property Management. So I looked around and I wanted to be part of a team, somebody that, really believed in a team effort and kind of family. That's kind of how the military was when you're in a unit. And I stumbled into All County and I've been doing that since 2011. I've really enjoyed it. So kind of a quick lay down of where
on your
I've
background.
been.
So you went pretty much directly from retiring from the military into being a business owner, it sounds like. There wasn't really a gap there.
No, not at all. Actually, just because I had deployed a lot in my last assignment, which was a really neat assignment too. I was the director of the NORAD Northcom Command Center. Had a lot of neat experiences there, but it really prepared me because it's an operation, and that's how I see property management. It's kind of an operation. So, you've got all these spokes on the wheel, but they've all got to be synchronized and coordinated to make it work and to be successful. And it just followed. But I did have a lot of time accumulated that I hadn't taken off. So I kind of transitioned from the military right into All County. I got my license and got my office set up. Had met with Scott and Sandy, our franchisors, and of course Han and the whole team, Cyrus and everybody. So they were all great transitioning me. It was an easy transition, and they were there with me the whole time. And another reason I think I was successful, because there's another concept, just like the military, you give guys a good base, good training plan, somewhere to go, direction and objectives. And that's kind of, I attribute a lot of my success to that. And that's why I joined All County. So.
And I do think there is a parallel between the military and how, a franchise in All County specifically does things, because there's a system and a process, right? And you do need a team to get to the end goal. So I think there's a lot of parallels. And for those of you fortunate enough to join All County, you'll see Scott giving presentations, and he has a very sort of battle plan aspect to how he plans out his property management, which is really fun to learn from as a fellow franchisee. So you were shopping around, and it sounds like, the franchise model was for you because you wanted to be part of a system and a network of people, that could bring experience to your business. Why All County? There's obviously other franchises out there. And, you had said that you were an investor, so property management was but there's other real estate franchises out there as well. What made you choose All County?
Well, again, it went to just, you have a feeling about relationships and interaction with people. And I got that right from the start with All County. It wasn't a corporation trying to bring me on to be profitable and to make money. I felt like I was joining a team, someone that, a good leader cares about their soldiers, or in this case, their teammates, employees, whatever you want to call them, property managers. And that's kind of the feeling I got from Scott, Sandy, Han, Patrick, Cyrus, the whole, and I know you've experienced that too, Tanya. I mean, even you, you can tell you're interested in how I've been successful, and, and we share that when we get together. And there were other ones out there, but I had the feeling that it was, this is how you do it. There wasn't any flexibility. In the military, we call it freedom of maneuver. I kind of felt like, Scott, okay, you got the Colorado Springs territory. Things are different there. You have to fight the fight there to be successful. And that's something I don't think some of the other bigger property management corporations or franchises operate. And it was that. It was just a good feel, and I think anybody that interviews with All County gets that same feeling.
And it's interesting because you and I actually had a validation call with the same potential franchisee. Angela, if you're listening, shout out to you. And she's considering actually, a territory that's in your neck of the woods. And it was funny because we were talking about how she had gotten set up with a validation call for you, even though technically in some other franchises, you would be quote unquote a competitor, right? Because you have the same business, you're in sort of the same city, of course, opposite ends of the city. And she found it really striking that she was like, oh no, this call is not going to go that well. And she really enjoyed the call. She was like, he was so helpful. He gave so much on the call. And I think that is one thing that is different about us is that, we don't see each other as competitors. We see each other as collaborators, colleagues, people we can learn from, right? And to your point about the territories, I mean, I think one thing that I noticed too when I was considering All County is like zip codes, like they'll go by zip codes and the zip codes are your zip codes. A lot of the other larger franchises are selling zip codes to 7, 8 people. And when I asked to get on a validation call with the other people in that zip code, they were like, oh, it's okay. We've got these other people to talk to. And it felt a little bit like, well, are they my competitors? Do they not want to talk to me? And that's just not how we work, right, at All County.
No, you're absolutely right. And, it was a great call with Angela. I really enjoyed talking with her. And again, same thing. Shout out if she's on here with us today. But yeah, hey, I'm all about having buddies. Battle buddy.
Exactly.
On my flanks, and and it'll make both our territories that much stronger. We'll have, she can help me. I can help her. I can send people down to her. One thing I really believe in is sometimes franchisees, if you take on a property that's too far outside your footprint, you can't give them the service they want, and then that's not a good thing. And hey, if there's something in the middle, maybe we can both work at it or something. But no, I think it's all about teamwork. I know it helps, and I'm not real good. Maybe you're a little better at all the tech stuff and the SEO, but I know the bigger we get in the Phoenix area, the better we'll be. And yeah, like anything, especially in this business, there's plenty out there for everybody.
There is. So, there really is.
There's no use. I don't feel like that about any franchisee in All County.
Agree.
I feel like I could call them, even the new younger guys, I like to talk to them. I mean, you're probably experiencing things now that I don't experience, being a little more, in there. Plus, I'm getting a little older too, but
you're further along in the franchise process. Yes.
Yeah, but it's good to have new, fresh ideas and things you don't think of and stuff like that. So, no, definitely. I really hope she signs up.
And speaking of Phoenix, because Phoenix is actually your second location, it is completely out of state. So you started in Colorado in 2011. When did you open your Phoenix location?
So I opened it in 2015. There was another gentleman that was doing property management, and it just wasn't his thing, and he had developed a business. So, we had gotten to know each other, and so we transitioned those properties over and got it up and running with All County, and so that's kind of how I got to Phoenix. But yeah, it's really funny. We're two contiguous states, and but the rules are a little different, and I got to keep them straight. Sometimes that's a little bit of a challenge, but again, corporate headquarters was there for us and got us set up, and there were some challenges initially, but A lot of people say, well, why all county? But I never worry that if I need something that I can't call, and I have a great, whatever you want to call it, back office, higher headquarters, support
Partner
team.
in your business. Yeah.
Right. And so, that's a great thing to know. And, so they're just like any business. They invest in you, and I'm sure they go through a period of time, whatever it is, 5-10 years, where they're helping to grow and they're probably not making as much business. But like all of us, as we mature, and, just like a property, you get it and you hope there's not a lot of problems so you can make a little more money. But, down the road, I'm sure they get a good return on their investment when they get a good franchisee up and running. So, but gosh, when you think about all that they have, they've got, the website and rent manager and the power they have to leverage, because they are a little bigger than me, and I talk to my colleagues here in Colorado Springs or in Phoenix, and the prices we pay for a lot of that stuff is astronomically lower than what they have to pay.
Yes, yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
And you got to think about all those things, it's an expense that they're covering for us. So, I mean, you'd have that expense anyway. So I always try to talk to new franchisees when they call in and just say, okay, so you're paying them their franchise fee, but what if all the stuff they do, you had to pay,
right?
Separately. So.
And can I ask, why Phoenix? Why open up another property management office outside of the state that you live in? Because you live in Colorado, correct?
Yeah. Just because the opportunity was there to inherit that property management portfolio. Mm-hmm. So, and it wasn't that far away. And I'm not going to say we didn't have some challenges, but it's really going well now. And same, just applying the same concepts we've applied in the Springs. And so I hope to, here in the near future, just get them up, and so that Colorado, is number one and Phoenix is number two. So, and Angela's number three.
Well, you certainly have a track record of success for being, because there's like a good 70 offices, and being the top grossing office out of 70 offices is a pretty tall order. And you've been in since 2011. So what do you think has been the keys to your success since you started? And like looking back now, it's been 12 years. What would you recommend to people who are going down this path in terms of what they need to focus on or what they need to do?
I think the biggest thing, Tanya, is just it's like any business. You got to put into it what you want out of it. So if you want to do a 9-to-5 business in all county, you certainly can do that. But to me, it's a 40-hour week. So how you do the 40 hours might be a little different. You have to go to networking events. And like I tell folks, like if they've got kids and they're going to soccer games and stuff, take advantage of that. It's not that you have to go to a business after hours or, a chamber meeting or anything, but, just get out there. And if you're just going to do 40 hours a week, then make sure you're out there doing everything you need to do. I think it's a little more than that, but I think if you talk to any up and coming business owner, it's not just Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. You've got, again, you get out of it what you put into it. So when I started, I put a lot more into it. Finding the right people. I've been so lucky with the folks that have joined the team. They've been with me for a number of years. But I think it's all about taking care of people, just showing that you care. And that's a feeling I kind of get from corporate headquarters, but and just doing right by your owners and doing the right thing. And if you mess up, fess up. And
if you mess up, fess up nice.
If it's your fault and you cost the owner money, then there's all kinds of terms out there. People call it the oops fund or the oh shit fund or whatever.
The make it go away fund, as Sandy says.
No, I've heard that many a times too. And but if you're wrong, so a lot of my colleagues will, if I know I'm right, I will go to small claims court and fight for the owner. Mm-hmm. So, but I always talk about keeping the high ground. In the military, you always want the high ground, so you can see the battlefield. But I think that's important to do. And if you're right, then stand up and fight for it. But I've made mistakes. I still make mistakes. And I'll share a quick story with you. Denham, our maintenance guy, was out at a property and he dropped some doors and he dropped a box. Him and a vendor were carrying it and messed the door up. And he paid the vendor to fix it out of his own money. And I found out about it. And he was out there working for us. And, I reimbursed him. It wasn't, but, it made me feel so good that he messed up and he thought we were going to lose he felt that it was his obligation. But he was out there working for me and never asked me for the money or anything. But anyway, but that's a great story of the guys and gals I have working for me. So,
and how big is your team at each of your locations?
So we have 10 folks in Colorado Springs. Mm-hmm. But Jim, our bookkeeper, he's the bookkeeper at Phoenix. There's a lot of backroom stuff that folks can do. And then we have 3 people down at Phoenix. It's not as many doors down there, but a lot of the stuff that needs to be done is handled in the Colorado Springs office. So new franchisees that are maybe thinking about expanding can do the same thing. So,
and it's interesting you mentioned that, because on all of the calls we've had so far, I think most everybody has more than one location. I'm trying to think about it. Yeah, we've interviewed Laura Barron and Tim Davis, and all of them have more than one location. So I think in all of them opened, not obviously both at the same time, but at a certain point, it just made sense for them, for various reasons, to open up a second location. So I think that's proof in the model, right?
Yeah, and I would say get well established and do really well at your first one. So it's and just talk to folks. Next time we're at a conference or something together, if you're thinking about opening a second one. But I found out one thing just to share. We all go through this extremely great growth path, and then all of a sudden everybody kind of plateaus. And it's because you got to a certain point where you
got comfortable, maybe?
You become comfortable, but when you're just getting started, you're out networking, you're marketing, you're getting new properties in. But after about a year, after you put people in a home, then they start getting ready to renew their lease, or they're moving out, and then you've got to market the property again. So about a year or 18 months out, you get all these extra tasks you didn't have at the beginning. So you don't have time to keep doing that growth thing. Mm-hmm. So it's important that every time I get a growth spurt, it's because I go back to the basics that All County taught me, and I do the marketing and the networking and all the stuff I do. And so I think I would give any franchisee advice, when you plateau,
put in the work.
Tell you, and I think Sandy and Scott would agree with me. It's because you've gotten sucked into the day to day, and you're not being the owner and really wanting that thing to grow. And that's kind of like we're really growing down at Prestige, and I'm really excited about it. But I took everything back to basics, and I'm doing the phone calls and answering the lead calls, and so and you have to get good at that. And there's some things I'm not good at, and I really work on it. Like just listen to the phone calls that you make. Go back and listen to the recording. I'm like, oh my God, I've been doing this for 12 years, and you stumbled through that. That was horrible, and you just always got to keep getting better. So,
but that's the thing. You have to be willing at first to not be great at stuff. Let's be honest. And they do say that when you start, you should make a lot of phone calls. I can't remember. Is it 100 a week or 300 a week? Something crazy.
Yeah.
Something crazy. And I can't remember if any franchisee has actually done it. I know Rob Ayers got close, but part of it is not that you're going to have 300 people calling you back. It's more that you hone your sales pitch so that by the time you're on your 299th call, like, you are a master at talking to people about what your offering is, what your value proposition is, how you can help them with their issue. And it's honing of skills. And once you've got that skill and you just put it out there, and like you said, when you're plateauing, to really kick it up to the next level, to get on those calls and talk to new owners and talk to new clients. That's the way to keep growing. So how many doors do you have now at each location, roughly speaking?
Combined? Gosh, at both. We're pushing 1,000. Hey, that's a good goal. I might just see if we break it. Yeah, so
that's a few.
But hey, I just wanted to share something with you too. And you probably know people can't see, but I have this card that it's called Sales Statistics. It's a little card I'll just show you, but it's really neat. It's like, it starts at the top. I won't read the whole thing, but it says 48% of salespeople never follow up with a prospect. But down at the bottom, it says 80% of sales are made on the 5th to 12th contact. And down at Prestige, as I'm really trying to push that thing, that is so true. I've been unmerciful with some of these guys. I call them, I text them, I email them. And I don't know if they're just giving in. Scott, I'll sign. Just quit bothering me. But it's really true. And I used to, I'm not a high pressure salesman, but I built that into my pitch. Say, hey, I'm really interested in signing you up, but when can I call you back? I don't want to, because some people don't like the high pressure thing, especially when you're turning over a $200,000 to $750,000 home, whatever,
But yeah, I think you do have to be comfortable with talking to people about your services, right? And I think the people that do well initially are the people that can call and talk to as many people as they can about property management. And like you said, it is a sales role. And if you're not good at it as a franchisee, then you should get somebody who is to help you so that, you can run the rest of it. But without the sales, and the properties, then you don't really have much, right? So,
yeah. I really love meeting people and talking to them. And it was hard for me the last couple of years just because, COVID, I think, really pushed me to it because we couldn't meet with people and people didn't want to meet. But
yeah, it's tough.
It was really funny, when I first started, younger folks, younger than me, they would text or email and they didn't really want to meet. And then, and now it's the older folks. They don't want to meet. The younger guys and gals will want to meet. And then I'll finally get a face-to-face meeting with them for a cup of coffee or something. And I show up and they're guys my age, and I'm like, man,
like you were tough. You were tough to get in person. That's hilarious.
So
that's hilarious because I've got millennial staff and they're like, why do you want me to call this person? Like, that's weird. Yeah. Like we didn't tell them that we were going to call. It's very funny the difference in generations of phone calls, but it's interesting. But I think at the end of the day, real estate is a people to people business, right?
Yeah.
And people want to see a face and they want to feel like I'm trusting my most valuable asset to a company where I know the people and I trust them and they're local, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Tanya, that's what I'm finding out now too. A lot of younger folks, they do want to meet at a local coffee shop, and I don't know. They're just growing everywhere. I see it in Phoenix and in Colorado Springs. There's coffee shops everywhere, and when I say younger people, I would say like around 30 plus or minus. They just seem like that's what they like to do: meet and have coffee, and so changing dynamics, and that's something I've learned too over the years. You've got to change with the times. The social media stuff is so important, and I wish I had paid more attention to it about 5 years ago. But we are just, that's people just, you go in anywhere, you walk in a restaurant or a pub or anything, and everybody's looking at their phone.
Yeah, it's wild sometimes. Like people are not even eating dinner; they're not even talking to each other. They're looking at their phone.
Yeah. No, that's just. I don't know if you ever saw that picture, but there was one. It was a mid-year conference that Scott and Sandy had hosted, and the presentation, the presenter had a picture of the Pope in Vatican Square, right? And everybody was standing there listening to the Pope. And then it was like 5 years later, they had the same picture from the same spot, and everybody was holding up. The whole audience was holding up cell phones, taking pictures.
It's amazing.
That could have been anywhere, probably an inauguration or anything, but it was just that really reminded me of how things had changed at that meeting. And Sandy gave a great talk at that meeting about being mediocre, and I put it on my calendar. Are you mediocre?
Ooh.
It was, and every day, on every sheet it says, and her whole theme was, do you want to be mediocre? And it doesn't mean that you're bad, but do you want to be the top guy in your territory, or do you want to just, and those are things you got to decide in your business plan. What do you want, and most of us, I don't know that, we want to live comfortably and good. And when we work hard, we want to be compensated for it. So, and I think if you follow the all county plan and just ask a lot of questions, especially in all county, I wish more guys or gals would give me a call and ask me about things, but my wife Tammy.
Be careful. I was gonna say, be careful what you wish for, Scott.
Yeah, you're right, Tanya. But she says people don't want to talk to me.
I do want to talk to you. I'm going to call you I'm going to
Yeah.
call you, be like, hey, what are you doing? How are you doing this?
Yeah, no, that would be great. I mean, I'm not in my grave yet, but I always say, as you get older, all you can do is pass on your wisdom and experience, and gosh, trust me, if we did this for 6 hours, I could tell you so many war stories and so many mistakes I made, and I one of my colleagues, we go to NARPM together, and I usually sit with him, and the speaker would be talking, and then he would look over at me, and my face would be. He says, "You're not doing that, are you?" And I go, "How do you always know that?" He goes, "Because your face gets so red, And
That's funny.
but yeah, there's just so many things out there, and the laws I know in Colorado are changing really fast with property management. I'm sure they are in a lot of states. Doesn't
They
seem to
are.
be as bad down in Arizona, but yeah, but you got to keep up on all that stuff. And I think that goes back to Sandy's talk about being mediocre. How do you keep up on all the legislative stuff? And my big push lately has been, I want to be the property manager expert in my area. So, and that's how I feel like I can set myself apart from the competitors. And,
Sure.
and then people call us and ask us, well, how can I handle this? And sometimes we don't get a lead call, but that's a lot of good publicity,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Let me ask you a question. You mentioned, like technology and change and how the world has changed quite dramatically for things. You've been in business since 2011, right? And the franchise has changed quite a bit since then too. What's been the evolution for you and your business? What are you doing today that maybe you didn't do 11 or 12 years ago? And how has All County helped you with that?
They have the conference every year, which is great. I strongly recommend you go there. I try to take as many folks as we can, geared to what the theme of the conference is. You like I said, you get more experience. I think it's always back to basics. Even in the military, there was always, if you did all the basics right, then everything else would follow. Even as I grew through the ranks in the military, if you just go back to your roots and keep familiar with the stuff that you need to be familiar with. And as far as the franchise goes, they've leveraged a lot of great things. I'm always willing, if they're willing to do something new, I'm always willing to be the beta test, or
the guinea pig.
I was going to say guinea pig, but I was going to date myself, so I was trying to use.
People still say guinea pig. They do.
Yeah, and I don't mind doing it. And when they do that, they usually pick younger franchisees, which is great because if things go wrong, it's easier to fix.
Right.
On a larger scale, it's
with 1,000 units, that's not something you really want to mess around with too much if it's a totally new thing. But
sure, but I think that's a great thing for the new franchisees coming on. I mean, they're willing to try new things, and and Scott and Sandy and the whole team there. They vet things pretty good. They have their home office, they call it, and they kind of vet a lot of things through there. So if it's not working, but eventually you have to start spreading it out. And I mean, I would love to be a new franchisee right now and just, some of the new things they're trying, and I know they're developing new websites and.
Yeah, they're doing a lot with search engine optimization and all kinds of fun things to drive more traffic to everybody's website, and using the power of all of the franchisees across the U.S. to, draw in more, clicks and views and all of those kinds of things. Because again, going back to what we were talking about, where someone comes into our territory, we don't see them necessarily as like a competitor. It's great. There's another awesome office where we can build the brand name, and people are like, oh yeah, I had a really great experience with All County in Colorado, and now I'm moving to, Maryland, let's just say, and there's an office there too. Fantastic, And you're former military, and a lot of our clients are former military too here in Washington, D.C. Military is always moving. And, they see a franchise name brand, and they're like, oh, I had a great experience out in Colorado. Oh, look, they've got an office here, next to the D.C. area. So I do think that there is a lot to be said about being part of a brand that has been around for a while, and that also, has a good reputation and a way of treating clients, right? Because a lot of the things that we're seeing in sort of the property management industry, at large, is a lot of consolidation. Massive, huge property management companies, a lot of whom are not located, or at least their staff are not located locally. They don't even know the neighborhoods. They've never been to the houses. They don't know what they even look like.
Yeah.
Whereas like all of us, we work in the territories that we serve. Our offices are there. It's a requirement, right? Like you must have a physical office located in one of the zip codes that is part of your territory. So we are local. We live here. We know, our communities, our neighbors, our owners, our residents, and understand what they're, going through a lot of times. Whereas I think a lot of these companies, at least that I'm seeing, because there's been some buyouts in my area, there's companies that own 13,000 properties. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
well, how what kind of service is that? And I think that's where we come in, because we are people to people. We do care about our owners. We do care about the communities that we serve. And like you said, we network. We go to local events. We meet people because we are part of the fabric of the community.
Yeah. No, I'm so envious of your location. The opportunities there are just unbelievable.
They're insane. Yes.
And you're right about these big companies coming in and buying out. It's just simply crazy. We've had a couple of those here in Colorado Springs, and we've profited from it because
we have too.
I mean, Colorado Springs is I would call it maybe a small city or a overgrown town, maybe, I don't know, but it's about 750,000 folks here. But 4 military bases, and Denver just keeps growing towards us, and it's been very successful. And these companies coming in, it's a great opportunity. Just try to keep up on it when it happens, and that's a good reason to be at NARPM, because sometimes you get word of stuff like that, and just know that those folks will be coming at you, and you can even leverage your social media for stuff like that. They just can't compete. And down at a big company down in Phoenix is I think it's called Warehouse Manager or something, but they're a huge company, they do what they say they're going to do, but they don't charge a lot. I mean, they collect rent and post notices, but if there's anything else, I'm not an expert on them or anything, but there's a fee. So we just you're so right that it's boots on the ground and making contact with the folks. That's the most important thing, and that's what people want.
And I do think in the marketplace there is room for all different types of providers. Like if you really want a discount service, you can find it. You're not going to get much. You get what you pay for.
No, exactly.
And we get those calls of like, well, I was paying my last company like, $50 a month or something. And I'm thinking, yes, however, you are calling me because you have major problems going on with your house, with, too many people living in there. You want to evict someone, and, you get what you pay for. And not that we want to be rude or anything, but it's just, there's quality involved, I think, in what we do. And so, and there are different providers out there, but I think for those people who are looking into all county versus other franchise operations, there is a quality over quantity aspect. However, as Scott has proved with his office, you can still have high quality and service a lot of properties if you build it right, right?
Hey, Tanya, one thing I'll share with you that I really think has been successful is I have what I call a property management comparison worksheet. And I have all the services we offer. Like I've got, rent manager, we use the inspector, we use property mail, we have our attorneys on there, we use petscreening.com, we have our fees. And so it's our column. Of course, there's all a check mark with a real happy little guy standing there. And then there's 2 other columns. And I send it out to this. So when you get that call, like they say, well, my last company charged me $50, and say, well, I'll send that to them. Say, I'm going to send you a checklist.
Yep.
I hope you call some of my competitors, and, but here's what I do. And this is what my fee is. And then, sometimes if you don't get them that year, a year later,
they come back. Yeah. I
don't know if you've talked to Dave Tour down in Atlanta, but I called him one day, and I said, what are you up to? He goes, I'm harvesting. I said, what?
Huh?
I said,
in Atlanta.
I didn't know you lived on a farm. And he goes, no, I'm harvesting owners.
Oh.
And he was just kind of getting rid of some of the owners that were just, always complaining and stuff. But those owners, getting back to that property management checklist, it's a great way to, you give a service, and you're an expert, and say, hey, here's all I do, I'll be glad to send it to you, or anybody that wants it. Or you can develop your own. I've got the template So
Fantastic. No, all about it. Nobody wants to reinvent the wheel, especially, if we
yeah.
can crib off each other and use what has worked in other franchisees' office. I mean, all about it.
And when we were talking about one more touch, that's one more way to touch them. Send that
Hmm.
email. Say, hey, I know you. When we talked on the phone, I know you said you were going to call around and to some other folks. Well, here's a checklist for you to help you
Yep.
out. And you develop that bond with them a little more. They feel that connection with you, and I think that's important. So anyway.
Nice. So, as a final question to wrap up, what's next for you? You've got 2 great offices, 1,000 units, which is probably most property management owners' dream, right? What's next?
Well, just so you know, the thousands a consolidation of both of them. So,
But even so, that's a lot. Even if you break it up into half, even if it's equal, it's 500 properties per,
yeah.
company is a pretty decent sized property management company. So, any more opportunities on the horizon? You want to grow what you have? You want to what's next for you, Scott?
Yeah, right now I really am enjoying where I'm at. I do like I like getting new properties and closing the deal. It just makes me feel good, and then that way I can kind of talk. I can talk, like the guys around here. My big thing is they'll come with a problem. I say, well, hey, when I was a maintenance coordinator, I never had any issues like that. I mean, it was perfect when I did it, But I love just closing a deal, and I'm so we have some. We've got 2 or 3 different property managers. Me, PJ's a younger guy. We have Carrie, female. And sometimes when you get the call in, if it's an older couple that I heard the owner was a retired military guy. Well, give me the lead, let me close it. Doesn't mean that you can't take it, but same thing. Sometimes elderly women are just more comfortable talking to Carrie.
Mm-hmm.
She's a empty nester now, and it's all about just getting out a deal because we're all going to take care of them. But yeah, and then if you can instill that in your team too, but it's kind of hard to pass on a lead. But for me next, I just would like to keep growing the company and see how far I can take it, and
Mm-hmm.
going back to basics, and I love opportunities like this to tell some of the mistakes I made. I know we're talking to new franchisees, but I know I wish I could just sit with them and if they could tell me what they're going to do that day, I was like, don't do that. That's going to fail, because I failed at it too. You know what I mean? Or,
Yes.
and I don't mean that mean. It's just part of the
It's
learning curve.
experience. It's learning from experience, right? And if you can accelerate that curve by
Yeah.
learning off of somebody else's experience, when rather than making the mistakes yourself, which are costly and cost not only money but time, right, and resources as well. Why not? And that is the beauty of joining a franchise and joining a network of people that are willing to share those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're right, it is not all unicorns and rainbows. It is not, and I stroll along merrily to the bank every Friday with my giant wads of cash in my hand. It's real work, and there are real mistakes, and you're dealing with, money, which people always get a little nervous about, and also their property, right, which they care about. So I think there's some difficulties and challenges, and people make mistakes. It happens as a business owner, right? But it's good to have a network and partners and a home office behind you that when you do have something, whether it's something you've never seen before, or you're like, I did a boo-boo, how do I fix this? Someone's got your back, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And multiple people do.
Yeah. I don't know if you've had a chance to attend a conference yet, have you?
I was there in September.
Yeah,
I heard your presentation. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. I remember.
I hadn't even started yet. It was pre-launch, actually.
Yeah. So well, I just leave all those conferences with so pumped up and ready to go.
Oh, it's so great. I wish they were like every other month.
Yeah.
Although the flights would get expensive, but going to Florida in September is great.
I wish we had talked. So I grew up in Maryland, and I know. All those military bases you have, like Fort Meade, Aberdeen, Fort Belvoir. Gosh, I can't even remember them all, but yeah.
There's tons. No, this is a fantastic area for property management. I mean,
maybe you need to find us a place to live, because we always talk about maybe going back and visiting, and I can just...
You have my number. No, it's really great. And I get asked the question sometimes, oh, well, property management, aren't you worried? Because property management companies are probably a dime a dozen in DC. And honestly, the thought has never occurred to me to be worried about my competition, because first of all, as you said, there is so much business out there. I mean, even the largest property management company here is like a small fraction of the potential rentals that are out there. And second, like there's, I mean, I hate to say it, but not everybody's that great. So
No,
sometimes it's not really competition. If you're really good at what you do and you enjoy it and like you provide a great service, and people can tell. People
yeah.
can tell.
Yeah, no, I mean, you probably know some of these places. We lived right off of Telegraph Road. We lived in Springfield. Springfield, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we lived in Silver Spring. We've been assigned there 2 or 3 times, and gosh, and a couple times we bought a home, but we had a property manager a couple times, and I mean, now that I know about property management, they weren't that good.
No,
So,
I have had a similar experience because I have had my properties managed and I decided I wanted better for people.
yeah.
And better meant for me that even though I had a decade of real estate experience, I wanted to partner with people who had even more experience than I did. And especially in the property management field, right? Because I come from sales, I come from real estate investment, which, you know, is all related, but property management is its own thing. And I think it does take, you know, a good amount of time to, you know, get your processes and your systems in place, but also knowing the rules. And, you know, there's all kinds of things that are county and city and state specific too. So yeah, it's a lot, but
Yeah. No, I mean, I'll just share something with you. Yeah, we were, Scott and Sandy were bragging about you. I was talking to them, maybe a month ago. So they're really excited for you, Tanya. And I just had to link you with
the newbie.
yeah, with the DC area. But I remember when they were, talking about the things you were doing in the podcast and stuff. That's so neat.
And the funny thing is there are opportunities at All County to do this kind of stuff because, I mean, for example, I came in and I said, All County does not have a podcast. I had a podcasting background. I have, you know, another podcast and I love doing it. And they were like, yeah, sure. And they helped facilitate it so that I could give back to the community, that we could also take some of the wisdom from our All County family and share it with people who are considering joining, right? To see if the family's for me, right? Like maybe they want something more corporate and there's another franchise out there for them. But I think the people who are going to be attracted, I think are going to resonate with some of the things that we're saying here, are going to resonate with some of the guest stories that, you know, that are the franchisee stories that are on the podcast. And so, I mean, there is a lot of opportunity here. All County, I mean, it has 70 locations, roughly speaking, but there's a lot of like really great cities where the territories are open. I mean, DC was wide open. And I mean, yeah, I could go on and on, as you know, but we both drank the Kool-Aid. That's why we're here.
Yeah. Well, you know, just our 2 locations, in Colorado Springs, you know, we have 2, I think there's 3 4-star headquarters now here, to include the, you know, U.S. Northcom. And so a lot of those guys come back and forth, you know, even the civilian, the interagency guys, State Department, you know, they have to do a service at a combatant headquarters. So they come out here and they rent. And, you know, the opportunity there for you and I just to exchange, just say, hey, you know, when they're moving or if they're a tenant of ours and you know, they're moving back to the DC area, you know, just say, well, hey, give Tanya a call. And even if you just refer them out to somebody, that just helps your business grow that much, and it helps the All County brand grow. You know, kind of like, you know, the Miracle on 34th Street. You remember Macy started telling folks to go everywhere else, and I mean that's a great story. And the same thing, if you refer folks out, they'll say, you know, Tanya at All County got me over here, but you know what I mean. So it's kind of corny, but again, I'm probably dating myself, but
oh goodness. Well,
it's all part of branding and marketing. And if that person tells one person and they turn their house over to you, you know, it was worth it. So you might not be in that territory, or you might have a colleague up at Fort Meade or across the river there. I can't even remember all the different posts, but
completely. Well, thank you so much for spending some time today talking to us about your experience, Scott. And, you know, best of luck as you continue to grow past 1,000 units, folks. That's, you know, something to be said. And he's still excited about getting on sales calls and talking to people and growing his business. Thank you so much, Scott, for being on the show.
Thanks, Tanya. Hey, good luck. And I'm looking forward to talking to you again. And I'm going to come visit you.
Please do.
We'll get 1,000 doors in the DC area. So.
Excellent. Thanks so much.
All right.
We hope you've enjoyed hearing this episode of the All County All Stars podcast. Thanks for giving us a 5-star review. For more information on how All County can help you start and grow an amazing business, go to allcountyfranchise.com or call us at 855-245-7368. You're only one phone call away from an opportunity that could change your life.